So yeah, my name's Graham Halliday. I'm a corporate lawyer at a firm called Marriott in the city. I specialise in venture capital law and M&A. What that means? So that would mean working with founders and startups. We will help them negotiate their legal contracts with their investors, help them sort of draft things in place, assess risk, and then from the other angle, when we work for investors, it's really looking at the company from a legal perspective, doing due diligence, again, helping negotiate, making sure everything's tight. And yes, we're one of the top 10 law firms in London venture capital and small to mid-market M&A, and we we've been very fortunate to work with some great startups in the past, like Citymapper, Deliveroo, Office, and also with some great investors as well, like Korte Setting, Excel, Frontline. So I just think it's really great to have that experience. You really understand from both perspectives what investors are looking for from a legal perspective, the negotiation, but also understanding what's important to founders as well, and the pinch points. But I think what we're really proud about is where we work with companies right from the beginning, right from the formation through kind of Series A, B, and C, and actually getting them out the exit as well, and through that process helping out with employment, commercial, real estate, and that sort of thing. So we're moving a few slides forward. So sorry, I've already covered a couple of these things, so there's a couple more. One after that. Great. So today I'm right at the beginning of that process, the company formation, and so you've obviously got your idea, you've got a business idea, but you're going to need a vehicle to trade through, and generally there's around 5 to think about. I'll kind of just talk through some of them and sort of the pros and cons, but really what you're going to want is your business to have a separate legal personality to you as founders. So you're going to want to open a bank account, you're going to want to employ employees, you're going to want to receive investment, enter into commercial contracts, etc. And so when you start a business, you really open yourself up to a huge amount of risk and liability. So you start selling a product and your services, and you might not want to hear this, but some customers might not be happy, or you make a mistake, you could be on the end of a claim, or when you employ individuals, there's a whole lot of responsibilities and employment law that comes with that, so making sure that their notice period, minimum wage, holiday pay, lots and lots of different regulations. So you don't want an unhappy employee suing you personally. And I think probably the biggest one is if your business doesn't work out and you become insolvent, then again, you don't want yourself to be personally liable. So you really want to set up a separate vehicle. So you can rule out the first two, general partnership and limited partnership, because they're not separate legal personality. General partnerships will generally replaced by limited liability partnership. A limited partnership really is set up for investment vehicles for tax reasons, and you may actually see them in your cap table later on. So venture capital funds are set up that way, but they're not really appropriate for businesses trading and looking to make profits. That leaves you with the last three that all have separate legal personalities. There's limited liability partnership, which a lot of law firms, accountancy, professional services firms are limited liability partnerships. I work for Marriott LLP, but they're not really appropriate for businesses that are looking for investment and looking to make a return, pay dividends. Because first of all, the owners and the owners and managers generally the same people, so the investors aren't going to want to be a partner in a limited liability partnership and expect to contribute on a day-to-day basis. And also, there's not share capital, so it's quite hard. It's harder to receive money, transfer shares, sell the business on later down the line. So investors tend to be put off by that. Company limited by guarantee. It's a company. It's got a separate legal personality, but generally those are vehicles that are used for not-for-profit purposes, so charities, and you have sort of housing companies, that sort of thing. So that's not really an option if you want them to be receiving investment. And company limited by shares it'd be the one I recommend. And 99% of businesses I work with receive investment or are sold are set up that way. That it just really gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of it's for profit. You can pay dividends. They've got a share capital, so there's an easier market to sell and make a return, and investors prefer that and will most likely request that as well. So moving on to the next slide. So that's kind of just a general summary of what I've just explained. So when you decide company limited by shares, you want to set it up. You want to set that company up. So moving on to the next slide. It's actually really easy these days. Some of you may have already done it. You go onto Company's House. It can take you 30 minutes or so. I believe it's £12, maybe £30 on the same day. You go through a number of different questions, and that's what it all being well. The company will be set up within a day or two, and you've got that separate legal personality and a vehicle to trade through and employ and enter into contracts and that sort of thing. But when you do this, there are some things to think about when you do that. So choosing a company name seems simple enough, but before you do that, you can go to the Company's House website, and there's availability checkers. Check that, make sure that someone hasn't got that name that you want. And there's a few things to think about. So if they, things like 2 is numerical or spelt, or it's written out, that's regarded the same, or punctuations in there, or www, that sort of thing. That's all kind of ignored. So they're regarded as the same, and it doesn't matter if the company's dormant and you want that name, you can't have it if you don't agree with it. Self-explanatory, really. Your name should be unoffensive and just Company's House will reject it. So defamatory words. Another thing to think about as well, when you go to Company's House, there's a list of what you call sensitive words or expressions, which you may need consent for from Company's House or relevant government body. So what the Companies Act doesn't want you to do is to portray yourself as maybe a business that's associated with the government, or it's in a certain industry that you're not in. So, for example, I believe certain words like banking or dental, patents, if you add those words in, or things maybe relating to the government, you may well need consent. So if you're maybe in industry, maybe financial industry, that sort of thing, I would just check that list to make sure as well. And you get through all of that, and it seems okay, and there seems to be a company name that's available. I'd also just think about intellectual property as well, because even if someone who's got a trademark for a word or a name hasn't actually registered a company with that exact name, you can still be infringing their intellectual property. So I'd also go on the UK IPO website and do a trademark search, which is quite simple enough to see if everyone's got that. And also it's probably worth just doing a general check online in case someone's got a business with a similar name, although the company hasn't actually been registered like that, because you could be liable for certain IP infringements, like passing off, that sort of thing. So it's worth doing. So the next thing on, when you've chosen your name, there's directors, choosing the director. So it's probably quite central for you in early stages, like with the founders will be the directors and vice versa. You may shortly after have maybe non-executive directors as well, but they probably won't be shareholders. And I mean, just a quick one on sort of directors and shareholders, just worth explaining that there's with a company, there's decision making at shareholder level and director level. Director level is generally day-to-day business. What customers you sign up, who you employ, you're going to borrow some money, you're going to move to co-working space, that sort of thing. And shareholder decisions under the Companies Act generally are high-level things. So if you want to issue shares, if you want to wind the company up, which I'm sure you don't want to at this early stage, or if you want to change your constitutional documents, Articles of Association, which I'll briefly touch on in a minute. But also, if you're going to become a director, I'm not dissuading you from doing it, but you've got to take it seriously and think about it. Because under the Companies Act, there's a whole raft of directors' duties. So acting in the best interest of the company, avoiding conflicts of interest, using reasonable care and skill. And I suppose as I was giving examples of when that might crop up. So if you're in an unfortunate situation, maybe your business doesn't work out, I hope it does, and maybe you're a solvent, liquidator, group administrator. Sometimes they look back at things, and if they think you breach some of these duties, you could possibly be personally liable in terms of repaying certain money. Maybe you take money out of the company, maybe that wasn't the best interest of the company, or you maybe entered into contracts below market value, and what you've done maybe deals with your friends and that sort of thing. I don't want to scare you, but it's just something to think about when you're making company decisions, really thinking about, are you exercising reasonable care and skill? Is this in the best interest of the company? Because there's other things like when you get investors as well, they could possibly bring a claim for directors' duties or other directors and that sort of thing as well. So who are the shareholders? And that really depends right at the beginning. It could be you, one founder, or there's a number of you. It's having to think about what the equity split was. And there was an interesting talk earlier about dynamic equity. It's actually quite a new area for me. I actually haven't seen it too much later on down the line, but maybe that's something that will come with in the coming months and years. But think about what's the split, should it be majority minority. So moving on to the next slide. So related to that about your shareholder base is when you're going back to the point about you're setting up your company, that sort of thing. On the Companies House, there's certain documents that you'll be agreeing to run the company. So there's something called Articles of Association. These are the rules governing the company. Every company will have them when they realise they're not set up with a basic set, default set called model articles, which is under the Companies Act, and that's fine. That's okay. You can probably live with that for a little bit of time, but there are some things to think about that aren't in there. So, what happens if there's more money? What happens if the co-founder leaves? Should you have the right to buy shares back of them? Should they lose some of them? And so you may want to think about whether it's not an incorporation shortly after, is it just tweaking your articles to maybe include some things in there. So maybe if a founder leaves within, say, 2 years, they have to give back a portion of the shares. So if they leave in 1 year, etc., or maybe one opportunity to buy them. Also, sort of rights attaching to shares. Normally, it will be ordinary shares. It's quite straightforward. Everyone's got equal dividend rights, rights on exit, voting rights. However, you may still, I suppose, times with dynamic equity, and maybe someone to put more money in. Maybe they want a preference. I don't think that's too much early on, but something to think about a preference. So if you sell the company, you get that money back for other co-founders. And also, maybe you're looking to recruit some employees quite early on. And typically, with startups, you will incentivize employees with options or shares straight away. And maybe it's not right that those employees have voting rights or dividend rights. Maybe it's more about the exit events. You might want to think about having different classes of shares as well. And again, that's something you can either do on incorporation, or you can start to tweak afterwards as well, and then in the articles. And then a shareholders agreement is not something you upload up to Companies House, but it ties in with the articles against rules, and the difference is private documents. But again, it's something you probably want to think about straight away. Some people call founders agreements, and it might tie in with some of the things about the co-founder needs. But also going back to the point I was saying about making company decisions. Say there's four founders, for example. What happens to the company if you want to sell the company? Do you need unanimous consent, or should maybe 3 out of the 4? Or if you want to recruit someone and pay them over £80,000 a year, do you need unanimous consent, or should someone be able to veto that decision? Or borrowing money, or if you want to invest, if you want to raise the money, should you all be on board, or maybe it should be 3 out of 4 of you, all that sort of thing, 2 out of 3. So I call them kind of matters that require consent. So it's something to think about as well that you can fit into a shareholders agreement. Quite straightforward. We're just registered office on the last up to the Companies House. This is just for proceeding company communication. Needs to be physical address in the UK. And the reason I wanted to mention it as well is just that maybe early stage people work from home. Sometimes you might be moving around co-working spaces or universities, that sort of thing. So you might actually want to use your accountant or another sort of professional service advisor or receive more information. So, for example, you might get less than HMRC or Companies House about certain things. So it's something to think about as well, because you want to keep on top of that and make sure that doesn't go missing. So just moving on to the next slide. So when you set up this company, there's just a few things in terms of the legal perspective and respect to having a company in Companies House obligations going forward. You need to register for corporation tax. You need to register company's accounts and confirmation statements at Companies House every year. So a company's accounts is relatively self-explanatory. Confirmation statement, really that's explaining what the shareholder basis each year, and is anything to change, if the red office to change, that sort of thing, director to change. But it is really important to keep on top of that, because I've seen companies that have forgotten about it, ignore the notices, maybe ties back to the register office not getting the reminders. I've actually seen companies that have been on the end of winding up notice from a company's house, like 2 or 3 months late. They'll start the process of winding up your company, and then it gets dissolved. You really want to lose everything on that basis. And I've seen some real headaches having to go back and sort of paying large amounts of professional fees to try and get the company incorporated. So really get the companies, you will take responsibility and really think about these things. And the last thing as well is there's obligations under the Companies Act. So if you change the register office, change directors, change people that own the company or receive shares, you just need to keep the Companies House updated, or change your articles, resolutions, you need to file these things in time. So there's a responsibility to impact the company. There's a few other sort of tips and things like that. So setting yourself up for the future, just some advice. And obviously we'll stretch when you start businesses early, but I would engage professional advisors sooner rather than later, particularly accountants, in respect to making sure you do your accounts in the first year, making sure you've got the advice, that sort of thing. You want to just get on and focus on running a business, not have to worry too much about that as well. And also getting legal, also not too much, but getting legal advice as well, whether that's things for making sure you're part of data protection, are your customer contracts, so they know they're right, you've got the correct indemnities, examination provisions in there as well, and also a bit later on as well with investment as well. You want to think about making sure you're on top of what the right terms are. Intellectual property, I think is quite important, particularly actually if you start developing things before you've actually started incorporating your company, is the company won't actually own it. So you actually might have to sign it across as well. And this is really important later on down the line when you have your investments, because investors will do their due diligence. They'll be all, particularly because they're software business and all this around copyright software, they want to make sure that company owns the copyright in that software. So if, for example, you've got a third-party contractor to develop it, really make sure you have that signed into the company. And it's a simple legal assignment to do that. You want to do that at the time, because there are situations where you lose track of where that person is, you can't get hold of them, or they can actually, really bad situations, they can actually hold you for ransom for lots of money. That's fine, I'll sign it to you, but give me an extra £10,000 or something. Just see where we are with time. Just a couple of things, just make sure you're taking out appropriate insurances, getting organised with investment rounds, making sure all the contracts are in place, maybe Dropbox, that sort of thing. Get your payroll set up, make sure you've got statutory books, that's basically having a record of your shareholders. And just if you want to become a B Corp in the future, it's kind of a lot of companies now think about this. It's really apparently takes quite time. I've got a huge amount of experiences making sure you're starting to do the things that get that certification sooner rather than later. So yeah, that's a quick whistle sort through company formations.
Thank you very much, Graham. Big round of applause. Stay with us, Graham. I've actually got a question on this. I'm seeing an awful lot of social enterprises, people with social impact ideas, looking to start businesses through the mentoring platform. Is there anything, any structure, any considerations that would be special for social enterprises?
So I would still sort of say that going through the company by shares is the right thing to do for the reasons I gave about legal personality, etc., and receiving funds. But I think the B Corp is maybe something you want to think about if you've got social enterprises and that's very important for you. You might want to get that badge. But I haven't had a huge amount of experience doing that, but I know it can take some time. I know there's the organisation people got a website for things you can do. So that's maybe one structure you should want to look at.
Okay, thank you. Have we got any questions from the floor? Yes, we've got some. I'll bring the microphone down.
It's generally recommended that if you're a solo entrepreneur, that you stay a sole trader. But what about if your business incorporates like skincare or candles or something that might possibly, it could have some sort of liability blowback something in the future? Do you actually recommend changing the structure early on or looking at some other legal solutions for that?
Come down, Greg.
Yeah, I'll come down.
I think from a legal perspective, there's a number of things to think about as well, tax and accounting. But from a legal perspective, I would recommend it because, as you said, if you maybe sell something and it's faulty and someone was injured by that, you would be personally liable. Well, you really don't want that. You want the legal entity to be liable for that. However, I appreciate if you've already set something up. I wouldn't just jump to it. I'd probably, so from a legal perspective, I'd recommend it and do it and transfer everything across to sort of do a business transfer. But I would also speak to your accountant or tax advisors because you've already started trading. There might be some things to think about. You might need to restructure things to make sure it's beneficial for you from a tax and accounting perspective. Because sometimes it might be more tax efficient to do it as a sole trader, but then you've got to balance that with the risks of you being personally liable.
Thank you. Any more questions from the room?
I've got a question.
Yep.
Yeah, this is just a general question. It's going back to the same things to do with the cryptocurrency and linking it to the government side of it and like the tax side of it and so on and so forth. Let's say you've got somebody who's a really, really IT tech savvy person and they know how to get on the internet because this is not possible. And like I mentioned, like you can just Google it and see the amount of how much the cryptocurrency has expanded like massively. If somebody's capable of sort of like starting from near enough nothing and within the next 5 years, they can easily make themselves a millionaire if they know what they're doing, right? What is the best thing for that person to do? Like setting themselves up as whether they're a sole trader, which I don't think would be good if you're making that kind of money. Should they set themselves up as a limited company or what? Because sometimes some people have like their regular job, plus they do that as a sideline thing. So what would be the best thing that someone who's capable of making that type of money, how should they register themselves as a limited company or what should they do?
So with this, is it a case of that person if it wants to start a business and maybe doing online trading with cryptocurrency and that sort of thing, or is it personally kind of just investing and trying to make money crypto that way? I think if you're sort of from a personal perspective and you want to sort of make yourself money by investing in cryptocurrency and speculating that sort of thing, then it's not. I think it's fine for the person who has also a business, but if he doesn't want to set up a business that's in the cryptocurrency field, then I would do. Then at the same point to me that I said earlier, is that the company limited by shares would be the way forward. All of the points I mentioned about exposing yourself to liability, essentially you're going to have customers and clients, and you're going to be offering them services.
No. They would be doing it themselves personally. If they're able to make that money for their own self personally, and there's no customers involved.
So you don't need you wouldn't need a company. It's just like anyone, if you're going to sort of doing some gambling or going on and going to the stock market and having putting a couple £100 on a company you can do well. So that'd be your personal wealth. So you wouldn't need to form a company in that respect.
Right. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you didn't do it like that, the tax I'm talking about. All right, sorry. All right, I'll speak to you after.
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you very much. Big round of applause.